All right. Yeah, got the music going. We're on episode 7, and yeah, we're gonna keep going with this thing. Yeah, just trying to figure out these levels. Right. Let me get back to the topic here. For number one, as I mentioned before, my background music is this musician I found on the YouTube music called DivKid. I like it, and I added 3 more tracks, and that makes it roughly 30 minutes, and that's probably how long I'll be able to go most evenings, although past few evenings I've been going a little longer than 30 minutes. In fact, I've been going almost a whole hour. But what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about that issue from last episode, which was regarding the accessibility of the guest letter. Everything is public. And one of the things that I was thinking about with regards to accessibility is, how do we just make it so only init was public? Why do I need to make the actual letters themselves public? And it's about design of a object where you only have a certain interface to it, so we shouldn't know the underlying details of these objects that are going to be in our game loop. If we look at our design here, we have this guess row. It's composed of these letters, which itself is a class. And when we're in our game loop, though, we only talk about the things that we need those things to do. We don't talk about what's inside them. We don't talk about how they're implemented. So I was thinking about the problems of accessibility and how do we get around it. And it turns out that there is a mechanism to for accessibility. I'll click here. Yeah. Nope. Testable. This was the issue that I was dealing with the last time I was online with you, which is when you write an application with unit tests, the code needs to be accessible, but only entities marked open or public are accessible. So to make everything accessible, you just mark it as testable. And I thought, this is it. This is the solution. And if you were looking at the GitHub where I did all this, you saw that I also implemented this as a pull request. And what does that mean? Well, I did it as a separate branch, but I created an issue, and this issue was around this finding. At the end of episode 6, we had this complaint that everything was public. You can remove it, and I made a branch for this here. Now, this is definitely off topic from Programming Wordle. but I just wanted to go through this procedure. If I click on this branch, you can see that in this test file, in this class file, I've removed all of the public notation and I've replaced it with the reference with this annotation called testable. And believe it or not, that makes these things properly hidden, but it enables the unit tests to work correctly. And yeah, I was pretty amazed that this worked as well as it did. If I right, so one of the things that I wanted to do is I could automatically merge these things, and I can use the GitHub pull request mechanism. I'll just go ahead and do that just in case people have not seen this. Again, this is not Programming Wordle, but here I'm going to go and create this pull request. This is again a workflow, and with this pull request open, I can go ahead and approve it. Now it's just me doing all this, and this is probably overkill, but I'm going to just merge it here and merge pull request 2. Number 2, I don't understand the numbering, but I'm going to say confirm. I think because the issue, so the issue was number 1, and the pull request was number 2. So that's a GitHub thing. But now that this pull request is present, I can go back to my project and just check my branch, and I can do a git pull here, and I'll see some new changes, namely the change that I did, which is removing all the public. And when I run the tests, let's go and run them. Getting better at finding this. This is the test navigator. If I run these tests for the GuessRow, it'll work a little better. Let's see that. There's a compiler warning, that's fine. But it's doing the test now. If I go back to here, we should be able to see this complete. There we go. There we go. You see how it's all green, and that's the mark of success right there. I wanted to go through that just as a warm-up. Offline, I've been thinking about this little project and thinking about this this next step that we have to do, namely, once we're in the game loop, we have to calculate the GuessRow appearance. And it made me start thinking about this part here, where we have to really think about how we're going to modify the GuessRow based on the correct word. Here it's craze. How will these guesses be updated based on the correct word? What would the steps be? And it's interesting. This was a exercise that I could see this being given in a beginner programming class. I came up with an algorithm here where I am essentially doing two loops, and we're not going to code this tonight, but if you take a screenshot of this or pause it here, I guess my open question, my open curiosity is there a way to do this in one loop? You can see that there's two loops here. For every position and letter in the guess, we look to see if things are in the correct position. And then we remove things from the correct, we move things from the correct word, and then using that array, we loop through it again to see whether or not guess letters are in the remaining letters of the correct word. I'm not going to go through this in detail tonight. Again, take a screenshot of this. I am, though, pondering greatly perhaps the challenge of, hey, can I just do this in one loop? Can I just have a guess cured? Can I have a correct word, aroma, and can, in one loop, for I equal 0 to 5, can I calculate that this is not present, present but in the wrong location, not present. Can I do that in one loop? And again, I was thinking, I really can't. It's difficult. But that's so. I think what we'll do is in the next episode, the one tomorrow, we'll try to code this up. And again, I've been working offline. I have coded this up. There's a lot to do to actually implement this as written. There's a lot of Swift that I had to learn to do these loops properly and to index both the guess letter correct word as well as the actual guess. And yeah, so there's just a lot to deal with. But I'll take the letter, and everything here is public. We're just gonna make this not public. We're just gonna remove public from here, and I think I can. Let me see if I can do this with one. I'm going to find the word public. And replace it with nothing. Let's see if it does that. Replace all of these things. I don't like the it didn't pre-format this nicely. Manually fix these. And remember, the reason why this works is in the test itself, letter tests, I can make our module testable. So now, if I run the letter tests, we should be able to see all of these tests succeed properly. Let's go and see that. So I'm building this. Yeah, it looks good. So I'm gonna go and commit this. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, I've removed all the public access from the class letter, and I've made Wordle CLI testable so that the test can get at these public. The test can get at these properties that are normally inaccessible. So let me go and commit this. I'll just use actually the same one that I used before. Another thing that I noticed, again, we're not doing any real coding here, but another thing that I noticed was, look at this in our README. Remember, in our README, we had this. But because of the way Markdown works on GitHub, this is just, the new lines are removed, and because there's no empty line between these, and I don't want there to be an empty line between these. I want this to be formatted as a block of code, and there is a way to do that. In the Markdown for GitHub, we can express it like this. Pretty sure that's it, and I'm going to just check that. I'm going to check that to be sure. And put this right in our chat. I'm just thinking now, I don't know if there's a way to actually experiment with this online. Maybe I could put this oh wow. Use fix with when editing Markdown. Well, what I was hoping for was a sort of a Markdown online editor for GitHub. I'm going to do that. GitHub Markdown online editor. A couple of them. Doesn't seem to be GitHub approved or from GitHub proper. I'll click on this first one. Wow, look at that big document. Let me go all the way to the bottom of this. Wow. This is a very it seems very comprehensive. Oh, you can hear some backticks right here. Oh no, this is a flow chart. I wonder if there's one here that's just code. Yeah. JavaScript. Yeah, code blocks, pre-formatted. And I'm gonna commit this because it is straightforward, and let's just see what happens when I do push this up. Good. Looks much better. Looks much better. Okay. So, again, we're not going to go too whole hog into this algorithm that I came up with. We're at that point, though, where we're going to have to write it. But let's take a quick pause and see what other remaining function we could add to GuessRow. And that's right. We need to, in order to do that, we'll make a function in here. We'll call it print row. I think I want to call it print row, but I think it's actually, I think it's going to be just row. It's going to return a string. And what it will do is it will loop through these and display a string. It will loop through the letters. Now, you can see that I have here a basic for loop for every C that's in the string guess. Put it in. Here we're going to do the opposite. We're going to say for C in guess letters, we're going to do something like this. We're going to need a string that we're going to return. So var str. We're going to say str plus is equal to c dot letterWithStatus. And we're going to do, it's missing a return function, so now I'm going to say return str. And what this is doing is it's looping through all the guesses that have been, it's looping through all the letters in the guess that has been entered to initialize this structure, and it prints them with its status. So in other words, it'll print it like this. Remember, when we run letter, we have a function in here, letterWithStatus, and it's going to print either, it's going to print this if it's in the word. It's going to print this if it's not in the word. So there's a couple of things that with status is giving us, and we're taking advantage of that here by assembling a string. So I've just made this little function row. So now we're going to make a test for it. We're going to say func test print row, test row. I'll just put a number here, testRowInitial. Let's do that. And we're going to say var row, or let's make it guess this time. Doesn't really matter. It's just a variable we're using. Guess row, and we're going to make the guess be catch. 5 letters. We're going to assert true. I wonder if there's other ones like string. Is there any strings? Equal? Yeah. I like this one better. The two things that are going to be equal is that the guess, and we're going to row is going to be equal to this. And I think where there's going to be a mistake here. Let's see. Could have just made this. I like this warning here. Consider making it a constant. Same thing with here. So I am going to pay attention to it, at least for this one. Now, what should happen is if I run this test, testRowInitial, it failed. Oh, wait a minute. It failed. Let me see. Now, I don't want to be too coy here. I knew that this would fail. Maybe if you're watching, you know that this would fail. But you could see that it prints, this particular assertion prints why it failed. GuessRow returned catch with CATCH, but there were none of these brackets here. There were none of these bars in between the letters. I think we can get this here too. If I do Swift test filter GuessRow testRowInitial, I think this will also work. GuessRowTests. Why I'm here on the command line is I think we can see the output a little easier. Well, maybe it's not a little easier, but you see what's happening here though. We need there to be brackets in between this thing. So to do that, we're going to have to artfully put brackets here, and this is again first string. Then we print the letter with its status, but then after we print the letter with its status, we can also print or append another pipe. think that should be it. We can also sort of reason it out. There's 5 guess letters, so we're going to print 5 pipes and then a 6th one for the beginning, and that's how many we have here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 pipes here. So if I run this test, it now passed. That's a good thing. So we're gonna go and add this. Look at our differences. Make sure they look clean. I'm gonna say I'll even put here the row function prints as, and we got it right here. Oh no, wait. Oops, that wasn't right. testRowInitial. Yeah. That's it. So, yeah. So we got the beginnings of the functionality that we need to implement the display part. But now we need that logic. We now need to compare guess to a correct word and update these letters. And maybe we can even add a test, though. We can add a test to update these letters. I'm going to say first let's this is the last thing that we'll do here. We'll say because it's testable, we can do this. I'm going to put in, when I first started playing Wordle, was Taser. Somebody had mentioned it on a podcast. If I take guess and guess letters, and if I take the first one and make it wait a minute, let me make sure yeah, guess letters consists of letters. Nope. I already forgot my design. And a letter. What's inside of a letter? Yeah, character. Inward. Yeah. Yeah, so this should, yeah, hang on for a second. And we're going to make sort of correct spot. What we've done is we've told the object to convert that first letter to be in the word and in the correct spot, which for us means that it will be marked with a plus. And we can do that with maybe the last letter, which we know is the fifth element, which is indexed with the number 4. That's a classic computer thing. The first index starts with 0, so the last index is n-1. We're gonna do this by saying guess letters for the last one is in word true, and basically you could see we're exercising the functionality. That's what we think it's supposed to show. So we'll now run this test. See what it looks like. Build successful, and now it passed. So again, this is also programming, just confirming your program works. And remember, in the tests, we can access all of these little objects with this annotation testable. That's again a Swift thing. What we're going to do though is inside of GuessRow, we're going to update these letters based on logic in the algorithm of how to mark these letters. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow, and it's going to involve it's just going to be a lot of Swift. It's going to involve how do we loop a string properly in Swift. How do we implement something like remove matching correct letter, and a few other things that I've picked up and explored while implementing this offline. Let's first commit this change. Put here. There's also one warning that let's make sure that test worked. That works. So there's one warning here that I also want to get rid of, and here I've noticed this in Xcode. This is the issue navigator, and we can use this to look at build time as well as runtime errors. And here it's saying that row was never mutated. This is the same one it was complaining about here, so we're gonna adjust that also. No build time issues now. You see that this has also been updated. This little note here. If I do the code review, you can see that that's been changed. So I'm still gonna do everything on the command line for that. So right. So that's it for tonight. We're gonna go explore this algorithm some more tomorrow. There's maybe even write a few tests, but there's been a lot that I picked up with Swift. It's quite deep. I hope you join me to hear me out on some of this, and thanks for checking this out. We'll catch everybody the next time.